Joining me now is California Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu. He is the vice chair of the House Democratic Caucus. Congressman Lieu, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kristen.
Well, we're so glad to have you here. I do want to start off by playing what DNC Chair Ken Martin had to say this morning on MSNBC about the Democratic Party's struggles in the polls and what he perceives to be the way forward.
Well, we've lost trust with voters, and we've talked about this on the show before. We actually have to show folks that we're going to stand up, right, grow a spine, and fight for their lives. I think the reality is part of it is actually making sure that we're communicating our values the right way, connecting our policies that we support back to people's lives.
We've been hearing that same diagnosis effectively since the election, Congressman. Do you feel as though Democrats have made any significant changes over the past 6 months to be in a better standing with voters?
Right. Thank you, Kristen, for your question. I do. And first of all, I support Ken Martin, who was recently elected as DNC chair. And I know we all support him as he takes the DNC and improves it and makes it so that it is a very, very good Democratic Party. I can speak about House Democrats, and we have been focused on the economy, on reducing the cost of rent and housing and grocery prices and consumer goods. The Trump administration is doing exactly the opposite with their indiscriminate tariffs, raising prices and throwing our economy into negative GDP growth.
Where do you stand in terms of how much do you focus on opposing President Trump and his policies, and how much do you focus on the economy, which is still the top issue for voters? How do you see that balancing act, Congressman?
Well, right now it's one and the same because Donald Trump is hurting our economy. You know, it takes a special kind of stupid to take a growing U.S. economy and throw it into reverse with negative GDP growth. Donald Trump could have played golf every day for 100 days, and we would not have gone into negative GDP growth. So we're fighting back. And particularly with what Republicans are trying to do with an $880 billion Medicaid cut, that would devastate not only our economy, but the health care of millions of Americans. Democrats are fighting back against that as well.
And obviously, all eyes are on the midterms. Republicans are making the case that if Democrats win back the House, that they will move to impeach President Trump. Where do you come down on that? And would you support impeaching the president? Some of your colleagues have not ruled this out.
The first priority of Democrats would be to help restore our economy. Donald Trump ran a campaign on having the golden age of having economic growth, of lowering prices. He's done none of that. He's done exactly the opposite. That's why his poll ratings are now at the lowest of any president in 80 years at the 100-day mark. And I do note that when you talk about House Democrats, a recent Fox News poll has House Democrats at a +7 advantage on the generic congressional ballot over House Republicans.
But just to go back to that question, Congressman, would you rule out moving to impeach President Trump if Democrats were to win back the House?
I would have to look at the evidence, but that is not the priority right now of House Democrats. It's to stop the humongous Medicaid cuts that Republicans are proposing and to help restore sanity to our economy, not have negative GDP growth, but also have positive growth and to create jobs and to lower prices, none of which the Trump administration is doing.
So not ruling it out, but not making it a priority if you were to win back the House, it sounds like. I do want to talk about the president's legislative agenda. Democrats really focused on the possibility of cuts to Medicaid. I did interview the president. He said he'd veto anything that included cuts to Medicaid. But if this is something that you face, that you believe that there are going to be cuts to Medicaid, what do you think Democrats can do about it? And do you think the social safety net is sustainable?
Oh, absolutely. The Medicaid program is one of the best programs in America. It's absolutely sustainable. 2/3 of nursing home patients rely on Medicaid. It also provides health care for millions and millions of Americans. And by the way, if you strip health care away from these Americans, guess what? They're still going to get health care. They're just going to walk into an emergency room in a hospital and get treated, and that increases costs for all of us. And the reason that we're so focused on this is because House Republicans literally passed a budget resolution that calls for $880 billion in cuts, and those cuts, the only way it could happen from the committee they directed it to is from Medicaid.
And of course, part of this legislative package will include extending the 2017 tax cuts that are set to expire this year. The president, Republicans say this would be a big tax hike on Americans if it does expire. Democrats say actually this is a tax cut for wealthy Americans. But again, what, if any, recourse do you have? And are Democrats going to lay out their own vision for tax cuts?
Right. Well, first of all, the Trump cabinet doesn't need any more tax cuts. Wealthy people don't need any more tax cuts. And so what makes these proposed cuts of Medicaid even worse is Republicans are doing this so that they can do this giant tax package to benefit the top 1% of Americans. That is morally wrong, and it's also fiscally stupid, because what we want to do is help ordinary Americans on Main Street, not super wealthy Americans who don't need another tax cut.
Congressman, just very quickly, I want to get your reaction to the Fed chair, both what he said today and what he did, declining to decrease interest rates. President Trump, in an interview with me and frankly, in other public spaces, has said he believes that rates should be cut. That didn't happen today. What do you make of it?
The Fed chair is absolutely right. He has rightfully pointed out that these indiscriminate tariffs are increasing the risk of recession. He essentially described a scenario that looks like stagflation, where we have bad GDP growth, maybe even negative GDP growth, and inflation at the same time. This is why Donald Trump's approval ratings are so low. This is why House Democrats have much better poll numbers than House Republicans. We want House Republicans to listen to American people and do what the American people wanted to have done, which is to lower prices, increase growth, increase jobs.
All right, Congressman Ted Lieu, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kristen.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.